All right, well, it is officially afternoon here in the Pacific Northwest, so welcome everybody. My name is Blair Nickel with FranNet. We also have Charlie McGee with FranNet of Washington. Between the two of us and also Emily Anderson, we oversee the Pacific Northwest for FranNet. Basically, FranNet, we've been in business for a little over 30 years. We have helped, it's got to be close to 100,000. Let's just say it's in the tens of thousands of people purchase franchises over the years. I have helped thousands of people myself, not only here in the Pacific Northwest, but also in Southern California. Charlie's been in franchising for the vast majority of his professional career as well. And basically what FranNet's job is to help people purchase, research, and learn about franchising. We work very closely with the SBA, SBDC, SCORE. We have a plethora of webinars in addition to this one that are pre-recorded on just about every topic of franchising. So this is a very different one compared to the ones that we normally do. Normally the webinars that we put on are very educational. Of course, this one will be educational, but usually they're either on a specific franchise or on kind of the franchising 101 on how to look, find, and research franchises so you can make a safe and wise decision. Most of you that are on the line, as I see everybody kind of coming on, have been or are clients of ours. And so, which is great to see. Most of you know our process and how we work and know that we don't charge any fees for our services and that we're compensated by the franchisors. So that's a little bit about us, a little bit about Charlie and I. Here's a little bit about this afternoon. We'll probably be about around 45 minutes in length. And the idea of this is to make it interactive. So each franchisor that is on the line will give kind of a 4 to 5 minute briefing on their company. And it is all centered around essential services and recession resistant services. So, you know, obviously the big topic of the world right now is COVID-19. And having done this for, you know, over 20 years myself, I've been through the Great Recession, I've been through the dot-com bust, I've been through 9/11, and now COVID-19 as it pertains to franchising. And so here's generally what we see when one of these pandemics or fluctuations within the financial world happen, is we will see a sudden shift of what our clients will be looking for and what they look at. They, as soon as one of these things happen, they will shift towards what we call essential services or recession resistant services. And obviously for obvious reasons. And look, if somebody 3 months ago would have told me, hey, start loading up on vitamin C, you might want to get the gym as quickly as possible. By the way, you're not going to be able to travel. And here's the cool part, in about 3 months, you'll probably have a mullet. All right. That's the truth as to what happened to all of us. Yes, I let my wife cut my hair in over the past couple of months, but I'm due for another haircut next week. But if somebody would have told me, hey, you will not be able to get a haircut over the next 3 months, I would have said, no, it's an essential service. Come on, that can't happen. Well, guess what? It did. So nothing is recession proof. Nothing is 100% essential, but there are definitely services and goods that we as consumers all have used and need over any time of period that tends to happen like this. And so what we did is we invited a number of these franchisors who have either been growing, have been through these fluctuations in time to kind of share their stories of why they're essential. Because again, what we will suddenly see, and we've already seen, is our clients will tend to gravitate towards these types of companies. So we want you to learn about them, okay? So that's a little bit about today. There will be a chance for questions and answers as we open up the panels. There is also a chat box, so feel free to put questions within the chat box, and either Charlie or I will get them read to the franchisors, or if it's a question to Charlie and I, we will answer it. But other than that, I will turn it over to Charlie to start introducing the franchisor. So Charlie, if you can take yourself off of mute. There you go.
Yeah.
So if you can introduce the franchisors and then handle the question and answer period, that would be great. Charlie, it's all yours.
Okay, terrific. Thanks everybody for being with us today. And in no particular order, Let's start with Dan Glazer from Window Genie. Dan, we're really thrilled to have you. Certainly Window Genie's, as essential and open during, this process. One of the things that sticks out to me is your gutter cleaning. I mean, protecting people's properties is something that, never goes out of style regardless of the economy. So we're glad to have you. Thanks for sharing some thoughts.
Thanks for having me. So let me share with you a little bit about who Window Genie is, what we do, what we're all about, and kind of who we typically look for in a franchisee. So I think one of the biggest things to understand about Window Genie is that we're part of a much larger group of franchise brands called Neighborly. Neighborly is the largest group of home service franchise brands in the country today. We own brands like Mr. Rooter Plumbing, Molly Maid, Glass Doctor, Mr. Handyman, quite a few others. So we're 3,800 owners today. We're about a $2.5 billion a year business. We started back in 1979. So we've been franchising for about 38 years now, coming up on 40 years. So we've been doing this a long time, got a lot of owners, and the way Window Genie kind of fits into the overall Neighborly dynamic is we're right in that home service space. So Window Genie, about half of our revenue, about 50% of our business comes from residential and commercial window cleaning. The other half of our business, the other 50%, is everything else that we do. So that includes things like pressure washing, decks and siding and driveways, commercial parking lots. I know up in the Pacific Northwest, our guys do a lot of soft wash roof cleaning because you guys get a lot of mold growth on roofs up there. I know a couple of our guys up in Washington, about 25-30% of the revenue comes just from soft wash roof cleaning. We also do gutter cleaning, like Charlie mentioned, primarily on the residential side. We also do residential and commercial flat glass window tinting and window film. So not on cars, it's strictly flat glass. Think solar film, as well as on the commercial side, safety and security film. And then we also have a really unique part of our business called yourholidaylights.com, where we do custom Christmas lighting. Because what we found over the years is our types of customers are the kind of people that, they don't want to go outside and clean their own windows. They don't want to get up on a ladder and clean out their own gutters. Guess what? That's the exact same kind of person that doesn't want to get up on a ladder in November, December and hang their own Christmas lights. So we got into holiday lighting about 5-6 years ago, and it has just taken off like crazy. I mean, we've got guys now that do more sales in the fourth quarter than they do even in the springtime because of the holiday light piece added on to all the other core services that they're doing. So the role of the owner in our business, what we want our owners out doing every day. Our owners aren't the ones out, up on the ladder, cleaning out gutters, cleaning windows. We have technicians that we hire as we scale the business. We always launch day one with 1 truck and 2 technicians. The owner is really the customer-facing side of the business. We want our owners to be good at going out and doing quotes, doing estimates, looking for upsell opportunities, getting customers set up on repeat service plans. Team management is a big deal. Most of our guys scale from 1 truck and 2 technicians to 3 trucks and 5 or 6 technicians within a matter of their first 24 months. So doing the scheduling every single day, doing your team huddles in the morning, getting the guys out the door, making sure everybody has the right equipment on their truck when they start the day is important. And then the third aspect is networking. This is a very marketing-driven business. We don't knock on doors. We don't do any cold calling. It's very much driven through digital advertising, search engine optimization, Google AdWords, third-party lead companies like Angie's List and Home Advisor and those kind of places. But we do get a lot of referrals from real estate agents, property management companies, HOAs, home inspectors. So really getting plugged into your local community and networking with the people that have the ability to drive business to us on an ongoing basis is another big aspect of the owner's day-to-day responsibility. So I'll turn it over if there's any questions or any follow-up you guys have on your end.
Thanks, Dan. Super overview. How are, can you just give us a little sense of, since the crisis has started, what's the, what kind of messages are you getting or giving the franchisees?
Yeah, I would say Neighborly overall. In fact, we've got a brand new franchisee that's about to open up in Westchester County, New York. His wife works for, I won't name the other franchise, but she works for another franchise there. And he's going through our training process right now. He made a comment about how much more communication he got from Neighborly than the franchise brand that his wife is a part of. I mean, we've got, I think, for the last 2 months, bi-weekly messages that have gone out, video messages from our CEO. So we responded really quickly, and I would say our franchisees would tell you we over-communicated, we didn't under-communicate. I think just the level of, weekly town hall meetings, bi-weekly email messages that are going out, video messages from our CEO, we've really done a part, because franchise owners aren't going to remember necessarily everything that you say when stuff like this goes on. They're going to remember how you treated them, not necessarily the exact words that you said, but how did you treat them? How did you communicate? Were you there? Were you responsive? Did you have good, helpful information for them when they needed it? And so we take that really seriously. I think we've gone above and beyond on that.
Very good. Thanks, Dan. And there'll be time for more questions for Dan and all the presenters when we're done. I'm going to move over to, a really different business, but it's been in the news a lot relative to the crisis, and that's in senior care. I'm really glad to have Dan Durney and Lane Kofod from Assisting Hands joining us. Assisting Hands has been one of our partners in this space, in this vertical for a long time. And guys, thanks for joining us today.
Yep. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate it. I had a couple of slides I was going to throw, but it looks like that's been disabled. So we'll just go the way Dan did. So we've been franchising since 2007. We're in 23 states, little over, or right around 70 offices, 130 territories. So just a few billion shy of Neighborly. But we have senior care has been a focus and definitely been deemed essential from the get-go. And along with Blair, I would not have thought that there was a more recession-resistant business than hair care until we saw them close, as you can kind of tell here. And Lane too, because he's wearing a hat, so I can't even imagine what's going on there. Usually it's a cowboy hat, so I'm really shocked it's a baseball hat, to be blunt.
It's got the American flag on it, though, Dan.
It does. Yes, that's right. And represent. And anyway, but so I'm kind of labeling our business as pandemic resilient. And Lane can share more specific stories. But as I've been doing calls with franchisee candidates, and they've been doing validations, they are hearing that our franchisees not only are maintaining their business with some losses in clients where they were having a caregiver come in where they were having to go to work, and so they needed a caregiver to come in if their parent lived with them. But now that they're working from home, that's changed. They've been able to provide more of the care. But then the reverse has happened where clients have been quarantined and not able to have their family come visit them, or they're in a assisted living facility and they want to be sure, with all the craziness going on, that their loved ones are getting care. So caregivers are into assisted living facilities has actually gone up during this time. So it's proven to be very resilient. In addition to that, we've rolled out 2 new programs. One is called Ensure Connect, which is basically like a FaceTime or video conference check-in on a client who maybe for some reason can't have a caregiver, and it's with a trained caregiver. So instead of just calling up, Grandma, how you doing? Grandma, oh, I'm doing fine. And then she hangs up and you don't know whether maybe she's showing signs of dehydration or things like that. So a trained caregiver can actually check in on clients. And then we've rolled out another new program called Employee Wellness. And this is where in this, I hate to use this term new normal, but the things going forward, businesses that are requiring to have their employees have their temperature checked before they go out to work, for example. And so we have some offices that have actually engaged assisting hands caregivers to go onto the workplace premises and take temperatures of employees and things like that.
Yeah, and ask them questions such as screening questions.
Mhm.
Have you felt sick? Have you had coughs? Lots of screening type questioning too.
So with all of this, there's been, just to speak a little proactively about the communication with the franchisees, all new protocols. It's been very proactive for the franchisees to receive information regarding FMLA, protocols for the caregivers into the homes of clients that do and don't have, are showing signs, et cetera, PPE distribution to the caregivers. A lot of communication and assistance. Plus, we have something pretty unique as we have an area representative model, which is an overlay of support by a local franchisee that's that's in the business and also provides support for the franchisees. And we have 15 of those across the country. So they've been able to help coordinate on a local level as an overlay and additional support with our national team. So that's why I wanted to just basically cover some of those differentiators with us. And of course, one of the biggest differentiators we have is that flexibility of our franchisees to pursue, in addition to non-medical care, if they want to get into medical or staffing or device sales, any of that, those kinds of additional revenue opportunities, we provide all the training and support that they need to get credentialed and approved to do that, as well as on the payor sources, in addition to private pay. Many of our offices also take Medicaid, Medicare Advantage, which is now starting to cover some of these non-medical services, veterans benefits, and skilled nursing, and insurance, long-term care and disability insurance. So that's kind of a quick overview you might be looking for.
Sure. Well, there's a lot of details there to be dug into, but yeah, the multiple revenue streams and profit centers is, I agree, it's a big differentiator among some of the other players in the space. Thanks and that's exciting about the Insure Connect.
Yeah, we're very excited about that program. It's gotten some great feedback already. And maybe Lane, you can elaborate a little bit more on that too, since you have more contact with franchisees than I do even.
Well, when this whole thing started, we really wondered how it was going to affect our business. I mean, are people going to be afraid to have caregivers come to their homes? Are they going to be, more concerned? What we found out fairly quickly is that people were concerned about their elderly loved ones, and they couldn't go visit them. They couldn't travel. They couldn't check in on mom and dad. And so now there's a heightened concern about, they're all alone and who's watching out for them. And so we actually started getting more, we had some initial, a little bit of drop, and then we started getting more clients and more clients. And now most of our businesses have grown. And it's been amazing to me. We couldn't have foreseen it happening quite like this. The other thing that's been a big factor is the nursing homes and assisted living facilities are places where, I mean, there are lots of challenges with those places with sending parents there. So the people were looking for nursing homes, assisted living facilities have turned to home care. So we're actually seeing a real uptick in our business, which is crazy because I wasn't sure how it was going to happen in the beginning. And then, like you say, our people are starting to do the on-site wellness checks and screening for businesses, and we're getting tons of calls on that. People all over need that exact service, and they're looking for a service, and who better than Assisting Hands to provide a service like that? So, in any challenge, there's opportunity, and we found that there's some real opportunity in this for home care.
And side note, by the way, that came from a franchisee and area representative, that idea for starting that. And then it was quickly tested and embraced and is being rolled out state by state. Some states have little differentiators on what a caregiver can and can't do, but most of the states, they can take a temperature and they can ask questions without having to be medical.
That's a terrific innovation. Congratulations to you guys for having the kind of culture and system where people are, feel like they can do that, and those good ideas bubble up.
Yep.
We'll have time for more questions and discussion about that.
Thank you.
I'm going to shift over. So we've got home services, we've got assisting care, Now here's something totally different that a lot of people might not even thought this was a space for franchising, but I want to introduce my local friend Sung Ohm from Manage Mode, which has seen some really exciting business results year to date. And Sung, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, Charlie. Thanks for having me. Blair, thanks for having me. Good seeing everybody on the call. I know we're all used to conventions and running into each other, so it's good to see your faces. Manage Mode. So we are not a neighborly organization. We are a few billion shy of that as well. But we are in the home and commercial service space. So we essentially are landscaping for businesses. We focus fully on commercial properties as our sole really revenue model. And we do monthly and annual maintenance. Where this was born was our two founders started this company 22 years ago. They were 80% residential, 20% commercial. They'd gone through 2 recessions in '99 and in the housing crisis in 2008 and 9. And really what they realized is the residential side of the business, as resilient as it is, drops off during recessions. Lawns get cut by the homeowners. They go longer in periods of time for maintenance and upgrades just don't happen during that time. And so really where the two founders looked at each other and said, well, where's the revenue coming from in our P&L? And what they've identified was the commercial side of the business. What we've identified is the triple net and the CAM charge a part of the lease, and the lease owner needs to maintain the curb appeal and the value of the property is really where we've put our flag in the ground. So 21 plus years of experience. This is a 90% reoccurring model, meaning we've essentially 90% of our customers renew on an annual basis. We are currently in 3 states right now. We're in Washington State, we're in Portland, Oregon, and we're in Denver, Colorado, currently operating, and about to welcome on our first handful of franchisees here in the next really 2.5, 3 weeks. So we are right there as an emerging brand, but a couple of things that we provide and support and what really drives our business is, one is the lead generation is really provided from the corporate office. So we have the ability to identify every property, who's managing the property, whether it's a mom and pop small business or whether it's a large property management firm that has billions of dollars in assets. We currently have national relationships with the Chase Banks of the world's local regional grocery stores, Jack in the Boxes, Taco Bell's, Safeway and Albertsons is a large account that we hold in the Pacific Northwest and in Colorado, and Public Storage. So these are accounts that we tee up for our franchisees, and will continue to build system accounts on top of the sales that the local franchisee will go after themselves as well. What we've really seen coming through this is we knew that it was a recession resilient industry. And what we've really seen measured over the last, really this year from January year to date, is we're 24.4% growth in revenue from LY. And that's during the pandemic and the crisis that we're in now. We've seen our model really translate very well. We consider ourselves the Uber of landscaping. And what really makes us attractive is that we're an under $100,000 investment. We don't require a brick and mortar location. This is a fully contracted model, meaning all of our subcontractors and all of the labor that's performed on the service side is subcontracted. We currently have a handful of account managers that would be managing our business, so it's a very low employee model. And then we, once again, with a very high retention rate of 90%, we're able to build that book of business year over year. Our contractors, what we've realized during the crisis is they focus so highly on residential, they've actually come back to us and asked us for more business as residential business for themselves has dropped off, and we've provided additional revenue for them to go service some of our commercial properties. We work with municipalities, schools, and other government buildings. And once again, emerging brand, low investment, and really here to answer any questions if you guys have any. And thanks again for having me on board, guys.
Appreciate that, Sung. Yeah, we'll have a good round robin of questions here at the end. I know the that's a business where there's no contact with the customer. And so absolutely no interruption under, the strange times that we're in.
Absolutely. Everybody's been fully remotely operating. And then once again, our business has grown year to date.
You bet. TJ, great to have Franchise Fastlane and Monster Tree joining us. One of the things that stood out to me, TJ, is 100% of franchisees open and operating throughout this recent crisis and period. Another business where there's no contact with customers in the sale or service process. And I know for me, I'm home a lot, pretty much all the time, looking out the window at my trees and thinking, God dang, that thing needs a little work. So it sounds like that's kind of going around. Thanks for joining us. Please share a little bit, your perspective. TJ, I think you're muted.
Sorry, I had my own phone muted. Perfect. And I'll start off by just giving you guys a little bit of overview of Monster Tree Service, and a lot of the things that Charlie just hit on the COVID, I'll kind of circle back around to. So Monster Tree is the only national tree care franchise in the $17 billion a year space. So we're the only ones operating in this marketplace on the franchise. All of our franchise owners come from outside of the green and tree space, so no one has prior green or tree experience. Everyone is coming from corporate America. Now, we do have semi-absentee owners that keep their full-time job, put a general manager in place, and run the business that way. It's kind of more of an investment. But majority of our owners jump in and run the business day to day. But again, they're leading the production teams, the scheduling, the logistics. They're getting out there and creating local relationships. They're never having to really set foot on a job site. But I think that's what our franchisees love about the business, is they're not chained to a desk. It's not corporate America that they're used to. Their dressiest shirt is this polo shirt with a Monster logo. They're wearing hats and jeans out, shaking customers' hands and getting to know the business. So definitely a really big part. Now, we are not only tree care. We do all the trimming, the pruning, the stump grinding, but we also have plant health care. So we do deep root fertilizations, root crown injections, mosquito and tick treatment. We do lawn fertilization and weed control. So some of those service lines are franchises in themselves, and we build all of that into the Monster Tree name. So more than just that tree care, you can even benefit on the back end by reselling your wood chips and your firewood, and all of that is royalty free. So there's a whole lot in this business that you can generate revenue from. I think the big numbers that our owners produce is probably the biggest draw to us, to people that are looking to come in. Now on the support side, since none of our owners come from the green and tree space, we have a whole national recruiting team that will identify, screen, and place every single one of those tree guys for you. So you don't need to be an expert to get in there and do the recruiting. We will help you find those guys. We have marketing that's unmatched in the industry because we're going against all local mom and pops, so they don't have any of our national advantages, national website, just all those things to separate ourselves from the competition. And honestly, the more competition you have in your market, the better it is, because then we just know that that's a great tree area. So really for us, you'll look at the map of our owners, over 80 franchisees right now, over 200 plus territories. So you can see they are all in the big cities where you would think there's already a lot of competition in tree care, but just no one does it like we do. Now, kind of on your COVID situation, what's been going on, we are zero contact, so we can come out, walk the property, price the job, email an estimate, take payment over the computer, so we do not need to interact with the customer. Now, for us, as Charlie kind of mentioned, being at home looking outside at his trees, that's what everybody's doing. No one's going on vacation this summer. Everyone's staying at home. So with everyone staying at home, they all want their backyards to look beautiful. They want those things they've put off for the last couple of years. They don't, these big storms rolling through are still causing tree issues. So honestly, for us, COVID has been a really positive in the business. Every single one of our owners is open and operational around the U.S., all 80 of them. They're all growing, and they're all telling us, and the numbers are showing, more lead flow than we've ever had, higher closing rates than we've ever had, because again, COVID is forcing you to be at home, which is a perfect situation when you're in a tree care company. So it hasn't been anything but a big plus in the business. Hard to see the silver lining in a situation like this, but certainly has been an advantage for our franchisees.
Appreciate that, TJ. Thanks for joining us. Exciting. And so, I think for a lot of people too, under the circumstances, they're thinking, well, maybe I'm going to be pivoting to business ownership for the first time, enter the world of self-employment. Maybe the shelf life of my job is going to be shorter than expected. So I'm going to start trying to figure this out. And part of figuring out that solution is your funding. What's the funding strategy going to look like? I'm really glad to have Lexi and Grafia from Guidant Financial, a Northwest-based funding strategy company that FranNet has worked, very successfully with for a number of years. And, I know Lexi's gotten, and her colleagues have gotten lots of phone calls from interested clients thinking, okay, how does what's changed with funding, or, what's my best approach now? So I asked Lexi just to share with us a few thoughts on her take on, kind of the current circumstances. Lexi, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. I appreciate you guys asking me to be here. And as Charlie mentioned, we've been around for quite some time. We've seen, the effects of the last recession. We've definitely made it through that, and we've been able to really kind of streamline processes for, PPP and the EIDL loans for clients of ours who've, already gone through the process. So that's been, it's been a process for us in general. But, the big questions right now, the big three are, is now the right time to get into business? Are banks even lending currently? And then what other types of funding are even out there? What else can I get my hands on? The answer is, of course, yes, yes, and yes. Now is definitely the right time. Things are definitely moving a little bit slower due to primary focus being on disaster relief, but banks are definitely waking up and coming back online because they've gotten past, I would say, the initial shock, and they feel that they do have a little more capacity for some of these newer loans. I mean, for example, they have the 6 months of principal and interest being paid for those who are fully funded prior to September 27th. So taking advantage of some of those deals that they're offering right now is key. I would definitely recommend just educating yourself right now. I mean, just learning what SBA has to offer, their process, the timeline, just get pre-qualified so that you're not thrown into the mix of people who are saying, I'll just wait until the end of the summer, because trust me, there will be a rush of people who are all looking to do the same thing. And then, lastly, just don't forget about the other types of funding options out there. We've had a ton of traction with the rollover for business startups, for example, where you can use retirement funds, tax and penalty free, because folks just don't want to wait. They see the advantage of getting started now because, when things, quote unquote, go back to normal, they're going to be ready to go and they're not going to have to wait on any funding. So definitely, in my opinion, don't put your due diligence of financing plans on hold. Try to see what you can get qualified for now.
So understand your readiness. Kind of like you said, there's so many different options, and everybody's situation is a little unique. And talking with someone like yourself can really help identify what's the right fit, what's the best match given what we're trying to accomplish. Really understanding your budget. I think it's interesting to me that the brands that we're highlighting today and those that are really doing well and continuing to do well under the circumstances are not big investments. We talk about that in our, Blair mentioned kind of the franchise 101, and, there's not a direct correlation between the size of your investment and the performance of the business. It really has more to do with the role of the owner, and is this something that you can really leverage and drive based on your strengths and experience and so forth. And funding it the right way is like you say, Lexi, I don't think any differently. So thanks. I'm going to kick it out and see if we have, let's see what question we have.
Can I make a quick comment real quick, Charlie?
Please. Yeah, thanks, Blair.
So Lexi and Charlie were alluding to this, and for those of you that are on the line that are obviously not a franchisor, I know most of you are in a career transition and looking to make some type of purchase within probably the next 2 to 3 months. I think most of the franchisors agree with this. I know we have seen on the FranNet side is that we are seeing a huge demand right now of people wanting to go into business. like I said, Charlie and Lexi were alluding to, that there's just so many people coming out of corporate America right now, saying, look, this is my window of opportunity. I don't see myself getting back into another job, or, hey, why did the younger guy who doesn't make as much money as I do get rehired, and I didn't? Well, maybe there's a little bit of age bias out there. I think it's kind of the unspoken truth out there. But I guess what I'm saying is that there is a lot of demand, and a lot of these businesses are service related, and therefore they are large territories. And so these will go quickly. Somebody will buy up large swaths of territory for these brands. So if it's these essential services that you're gravitating towards, I hate pushing people, because it's the last thing that we want to do, but they will go quickly, just as a heads up.
Yeah, and part of our selection process of who to share, who to participate today, who to share with us, were those concepts that had good territory opportunities still available in the Pacific Northwest. So we are looking forward to connecting with you further to help you understand, what it is you're trying to accomplish, what's the best vehicle, and in the context of territory availability. And
Charlie, I would add that in regard to what Blair just said, having this area rep opportunity, we actually have that available in Washington, Oregon, not in Idaho, but in Washington, Western Washington and Oregon. We have that area rep opportunity for the right person, if that's what they want to pursue.
Which is an uber rare opportunity. And we didn't even get into that side of franchising today. So
right, yeah.
Thanks for mentioning.
Charlie, why don't we open it up to questions? So if there's anybody who wants to take themselves off of mute and ask the questions either of you and I or of the franchisors, they can feel free to do so, and I'll watch it unless something comes up in the chat box. So again, if you have a question for us or the franchisors, take yourself off mute and ask away.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Jeff Farr. I've got a question for Lexi on the financing side, just around the speeding it up. If you're looking to use the ROBS program, and I understand there's a fee to do that, say you're willing to pay that fee to get through the process, does that buy you much, or should you wait until SBA is done on the other side? What's the timing with that? How does that all flow together?
Is the question if you're looking to do an SBA loan with ROBS?
Well, you're gonna some sort of a loan with ROBS.
Yeah. So we would want to make sure that you have been pre-qualified for SBA first, because we would never want to start the rollover process and then for whatever reason you're denied by the bank and we're like, oh, well, sorry. Now you have this rollover program that you're likely not going to do anything with. But the timing for ROBS is about 3 to 4 weeks on average. Pre-qualifying for an SBA loan can be pretty quick, depending on how fast you get your pre-qualification docs back. So usually, 48 hours or so, assuming you get everything to us. And then once we get that pre-qualification, we can start the ROBS program. So it's pretty quick turnaround.
Okay. So they can run concurrently once. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff. Great question. What else?
Actually, I have a question for Lexi. If somebody was going after a traditional SBA loan, generally how long are you seeing those take right now?
So if it's brick and mortar, still on average, it takes about 5 to 6 months or so to get fully funded. I would probably allocate a little extra wiggle room there because nothing's been fully funded since someone started the process during COVID, and then the bank has released all of their funding at that point. If it's going to be more service-based, no brick and mortar required. On average, it takes about 60 to 90 days. Again, just allocate a little extra time there.
Gotcha. Okay, so all these are service-based businesses on here, no bricks and mortar,
of course,
which is a good thing. But if somebody was looking at bricks and mortar and was looking to get within that window of the package where they can have the principal and interest waived for the first 6 months, and you're saying it takes 6 months to get done, the window is closing quickly?
100%. I would say that if you are just getting started, service-based is pretty much the only way you're going to get fully funded and get the 6 months principal and interest paid at this point.
Mm-hmm.
How many of you, the franchisors, have a item 19, meaning if somebody wanted to see the financial performance of your franchisees in fairly short order, they could do so by raise of hands? So all of you. Okay, that's good. Because everybody, I think all the franchisors, and we know it's usually one of the first questions people have is, well, what's the financial performance of these franchisees? So, okay, good. Other questions from the field out there? I'll watch the chat box here.
One thing I was just going to clarify, while we don't have a traditional retail space, we do have a requirement for a small office, 700 to 900 square feet to operate from. But ours is a very scalable business because the clients, the services provided to the client are all out at their homes. So we do have a small office space, but you wouldn't have a big delay on a build out at all.
Dan, what would you say is your total investment? Because in fact, I don't think anybody gave their investment levels in their little spiels. So
it was on one of the slides I never got to
yeah,
show.
Sorry.
So it's between 80 to 152,000. We look for about 100,000 liquid, 300K net worth, which is mostly driven by what landlords would look for an office space, and can cover their personal expenses for 12 months.
Window Genie, how about you guys?
Window Genie.
Yeah, we're right in that same range. I think we're 98 to 174.5 is our range. So you basically got your big three things for the investment are the franchise license, your first truck, and then we've got a startup package of all the equipment and vehicle wrap that goes on the truck, plus working capital. So, you know, our owners are driving monthly marketing dollars. So again, because we're not a cold calling, door knocking business, we rely so heavily on marketing. So our owners are spending monthly ad dollars in their local territory. And to your point, Blair, in our item 19, we list out a lot of really good information for somebody who's looking to build a pro forma. We've got average ticket invoices for each of the core services that we offer in there. Average closing percentage in our business is right at 74%, meaning every time a customer calls to get a quote from one of our franchisees, 74% of the time we're turning that into a book job, into a paying customer. So it's not, you don't have to be a salesperson, somebody with a big extensive sales background. You got to be able to communicate, talk to customers, those kind of things. But we also list average number of stops per truck per day, labor rates as a percent of sales. So basically anything somebody needs to build out a pro forma, we've got to help them get there. And then any information I can't personally speak to, get on the phone, talk to some franchisees, they can fill in the gaps for you.
Yeah, great point. Validation's important. TJ, how about what's the item set, the investment look like for Monster Tree?
Yeah, we're a little bit up there because of the large equipment. So we're about 430 to typically about 500,000 all in. Most people go SBA loan route. So out of pocket, our franchise owners typically bring about $100,000 liquid cash to cover that 20 to 30% down. With that large equipment, though, you get a huge tax advantage. Section 179, accelerated depreciation. Our owner in validation last night talked about that. His wife works, makes about 120 annually. They're going to write off all of their equipment against her income, so she's not going to pay income taxes. So a huge write-off against that initial investment that you continue to take advantage of as you grow and scale up the business, leveraging that large equipment. So a bigger investment up front, but you can leverage the equipment very, very scalable as you get deeper into the business. And item 19 obviously is going to back up a huge investment like that. You got to see the numbers. Our owners will talk about that. We're about $650,000 in the first year for our franchisees coming out of the gate, and we host 3 validation calls a week. So the owners will certainly get on there and talk to you about the revenue they're generating, how they're covering those loans, and help out any candidate kind of understand that process.
Thanks. Now, Sung, you did throw in your investment, but do you want to repeat that, what that item 7 looks like, and any item 19 comment?
Yeah, so we are 78,500 to 138,000 all in. We don't require a brick and mortar location. Once again, very similar to the assisted living. We do require some sort of an office space. Right now, our satellite locations are operating out of a Regis co-working operating space. I think we're paying anywhere from $600 to $700 a month on that location. Item 19, We have our average gross profit revenue right now at 51.5%. Our average customer transaction is just shy of 3,000. And we're looking for a market penetration of about 10%. And once again, we can show you those figures from our background in our satellite locations.
Terrific, thank you. Let's see, did we miss anybody? Talking about investment, that was a good question, Blair.
Yeah, unless there's any other questions from the field, I would say, why don't we try to wrap it up, be respectful of everybody's time.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining. And I would say for our listeners, you know, our intention here is to give you an example of some of the different kinds of businesses that you may or may not even be aware that are out there in the franchise model. Blair and I can help you understand your own readiness for becoming, owning a business, being self-employed, really understanding your strengths and background so that you can, you know, we can help match you to a business that's going to help get you where you want to go safely and efficiently. And we're very grateful for our terrific franchisor partners. And thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, Lexi, for joining us today. Super helpful. Everybody be well.
Thanks, Charlie and Blair, and everybody.
Appreciate it. And all the guys, yeah, it looks like a lot of you need haircuts, so go get a haircut.
Better have some.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, will do, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good job, Blair.
Let me end the recording.
You off? Okay.